Our ETO Tech Trends, this is the 6th edition which we're publishing, and this is done through a lot of research which we do with our customers, partners, ecosystems, startups. And it's very ground up research which we are talking to really where the value creation touch point happens between us and the customers and the interaction points around that. We really started to look at, and this year report, we started to publish this whole, what we call introspection or retrospective view. How has technology shaped in the entire modern era? What the pandemic changed the whole adoption of digital technologies, and this became the digital age, right? And the way I really look at this is, rather than calling it the digital age, we really should call it the tech decade. So we really, from an ETO report standpoint, are calling 2020 to 2030 the tech decade. This is the decade where technology is the business. So it's actually the whole digital plus economy, or what we call the economy built around digital at the core, or the whole digital plus is what the evolution, we are at the stepping stone. So let me just define the 7 which we are tracking. So connectivity at scale is one. We're seeing a significant ubiquitous and distributed cloud, and they are synonymous because you need ubiquitous and distributed cloud with massive hyperscale connectivity to achieve the foundation. Then this is going to enable significant need to relook at cyber in a very different way. You have to start to think cyber by design, not cyber as an afterthought. We're seeing a significant move towards green tech, which is being driven by the larger sustainability agenda, because tech has crossed aviation as the biggest energy consumer. So which effectively means that, and also a big polluter. So effectively the tech has to become fairly green. Then the key aspect, which is about this whole experience, how do you start to create limited experience? And then I think I would say perspectives beyond the earthling view, but step back and look at the view from the space. And it's a very interesting, we'll talk about space tech and things are happening. And the last but not the least is my, I would say, North Star is quantum computing. That's where I think natural sciences, you build a computer for natural sciences. We always build a computing world for math. This is computers for physics and chemistry and biology. And I would say that's where the lines between spirituality and computing starts to combine and merge. If you go by the new Maslow's law of hierarchy, connectivity, when I say connectivity, low latency, high throughput connectivity is now a basic need. So I think wireless technology will evolve at scale. I think 5G will become mainstream. I would say it's water, utilities, power, and connectivity. We have to start to differentiate sustainability from green tech. They are connected, but they are different agenda. Sustainability is a broader agenda. It has to be baked into everything we do as individuals, as communities, as enterprises, as governments, as societies. And as part of the sustainability agenda, the reason you want to use the word green tech is because tech might not be green, or the way you build tech and consume tech might not be fully green. So hence, how do you start to embed green technologies? The way I really look at this is that tech industry could really become the North Star or an example of how to really build sustainable digital enabled businesses or digital plus businesses. Because if you could show the way of embedding net zero and net positive, not net zero, but actually going positive in terms of adding back and reducing the impact of change, by showing it in the way in end-to-end how technology industry is building, consuming and reusing and creating a circular structure. I think that's the real value. I always look at even cloud as a big enabler for green tech. And the reason for that is a lot of the work which we do as HCL in Cloud Smart or in the entire ecosystem. Cloud is about using part utilization of capacity across different layers of the stack. So it's got a unique ability to start to prove that if you migrate to cloud, most of the cloud data centers are net zero or inching towards net zero. They're all being set up in locations where you need very little cooling because a lot of heat generated from the computing silicon. And hence some of the benefits of this thing. The big question is, how do you bake in sustainability and not see it like a CSR initiative? computing knowledge, data analytics skills, and cyber skills have to be taught at a very young age. Cyber is everyone's responsibility. Cyber security, the reason the big shift in cyber is it's no more the responsibility of the enterprise, it's the responsibility of the individual. The individual has to manage their own, each or her own privacy switch, correct? How much can I want to share? How much I don't want to share? I need to know what I'm doing. I have to be cyber aware. So I think the shift from making cyber a responsibility of an entity is what we see in the digital or the plus age or the tech decade, is move cyber as a responsibility to the individual too. That everyone is taking ownership of that, and then obviously the enterprise fabric. So move towards zero trust is a big thing. So the key aspect is cyber has to be baked in everywhere. Without that, you cannot have a model, because if you don't bake cyber in the core of each activity which you do, this is that limitless experience is not just about metaverse. It's about how do you reimagine people consume and experience different technology. I think it's going to be an MR, XR, I would call it an XR kind of a world. Every technology has a purpose of how they need to be used, how level of immersiveness you need, and how level of connected and disconnection you need from the real world or the physical world, and that's whole transversing between and transferring across multiple worlds. I think the way we are looking at limitless experience is you meet the experience where the user is and you let them based on choice. There's a lot of accessibility which you have to think about. There's a lot of inclusivity, a lot of other things which needs to be built into the limitless experience pieces. I think the world will move towards mixed reality. I think the question is that how consumers adopt it and how enterprises in the workforce in the field starts to use that. From a perspective is how do you start to look at it? So one is it's about creating more holistic view. The second thing is creating low orbit satellites, which allows you to really start. And a good example is during the Ukraine war, look at the way Starlink really enabled connectivity. Correct? It was a very interesting example of how you could do that. Ability to use space and explore obviously what's beyond the planet, and also really understand about our atmosphere and how it's behaving, because when you start to see things from a top-down perspective, you realize that sometimes how vulnerable we are as part of the enterprise. So I think space tech is an emerging area. It has a unique ability to really start to open up new possibilities, and it's about beyond imaginations. You have to start help us think more differently. Significant research and a lot of venture capital and growth equity money is going into quantum. What's really happening with quantum now is you're now starting to get quantum computers accessible through the cloud interface. And now there are a lot of use cases being starting to build. The technology still needs to improve because it's still very noisy, because the way these computing systems are built, they consume a lot of space. I would say 2025 is when we start to really see functional systems where people can start to use it in a more effective way, but there's a lot of experimental systems which are now getting deployed, and many industries are starting to look at. We've been responding to RFIs with customers around applying quantum into transport, route optimization, and pieces like those kind of examples. We're doing some current POCs with customers on quantum encryption and quantum cryptography. Those are because people are now preparing cyber by design, I talked about before, correct? People are now, first thing, the big use case people are doing in quantum is because one of the so-called the perceived fears of quantum is you can break AES encryption, correct? But people are now doing quantum key random number generation so that you can use quantum security as the first entry point. So very interesting thought process and evolution. So I think a couple of more years you'll start to see more, but just people should start thinking about how to apply this technology. By the mid of this decade, cloud will become a utility. It's already reached a point, but there's still a lot of hybrid cloud, private cloud. I think what's going to happen is this ubiquitous distributed cloud. The way I'm really defining this is it could be any deployment model, any consumption model, any operating model. The core premise of cloud computing when it emerged was centralize the compute, bring the data closer to the compute. That was a very simple underlying principle. If you can just take all the pieces out of that, go to simplicity, move data closer to the compute. What's really happening is with all these trends, you're realizing because of data and governance and other aspects, you're getting data generated in different points in time, different place. So your compute is moving closer to the data. That's why this whole edge distributed. Sovereign clouds coming in, correct? So you are now seeing edge, which is like a hyperscaler edge, enterprise edge, telco edge, correct? Then you are seeing distributed cloud being built by different pieces together, right? So there's a multiple levels of distribution of the cloud, which is happening. So, but looking at all these pieces together, this is going to be a very foundational technology because distributed connectivity at scale, with 5G and 6G, coupled with ubiquitous and distributed cloud, you could now have centralized compute, global processing, local processing, distributed processing, sovereign processing, and based on applying cyber. So hence, cloud is going to be a fundamental technology.